All right, so we're here with Matthew today. Matthew, in the month of May, he made $11,000 day trading. He's my mentor. He helps a lot of people out in the Discord server. Some of you may know him already. Matthew, introduce yourself a little bit more if you've got anything else to say on who you are.
I mean, there's not very much to say. I just trade, and I do good because I'm not retarded. And yeah, that's about it.
Nice and in depth. All right, so
Yeah.
we'll get fucking started with a question. So, what were you doing before you started trading? You're 20 years old. I know you've been trading for about 2 years now. What were you doing before you were trading?
How far in time are we going? Like right before trading or what?
Yeah, like what were you occupied with day to day before you were trading?
Well, pretty much from 16 to 18, I was playing Valorant for 12 hours a day, pretty much being semi-pro. And I remember when I was 17 years old, I said, like, compared to a lot of you guys, right? You're 17, 16, and you're trading. I said, from what I know, I can't really trade when I'm 18, but I already knew about trading since like 17. But I said to myself, I will do this, right? Just grind out Valorant, bro. Try to become a professional Valorant player. And if by the time you hit 18, you still haven't made it to like the big leagues, we'll just fucking quit and do trading. And that is pretty much what I did, right? Like when I hit 18 in January 27th, like what, 2023 or 20, I don't fucking know, right? But um like a few months after that, I was like, I fuck it, bro. Low key, let's just, stop playing video games all day and fucking grind trading. And, I
Ah,
did
so
that.
what actually got you into trading? Like, was it a friend? Was it videos
Uh,
online, or who was it? What was it?
it was probably some, like, I would say it's probably like most people, bro, probably some random ad on YouTube or something. And I was like, damn, bro, that looks cool. Um, I just saw that shit when I was like 17 and a half or some shit like that. And I was like, it seems cool, bro. And I also knew about like investing, like I, own some stocks and shit, like very basic as, the stuff. And I kind of, I guess, like the whole Wolf of Wall Street picture and stuff like that as well kind of influenced me. Like, I want to be a trader.
Yeah.
I want to be, I want to work in a bank and, do these kind of stuff.
Did you get into the crypto shit at first?
I mean, yeah, but no. Like, I had some crypto in the beginning. Like, I had fucking Bitcoin at 18K, bro. But I
Mm.
just gave up and I said, like, I don't fuck with it. Like, I had Bitcoin at 18K, sold that shit at like 22. And then like a month later, it went to like 40K. So low key, like a little bit sad. But we live and learn. I don't really fuck with crypto. And I never did again, like the only thing I owned really was Bitcoin. And honestly, if I am to do any crypto now, it would probably be that, unless I just say, fuck it, let's gamble a little bit of money and put it in meme coins for fun. That's always, a little bit of fun. So that could be potential, but I don't really care about it, to be honest.
Mm. All right. So I guess we'll put it more onto the track of actually day trading now. So what do you day trade? How do you day trade? I mean, not necessarily the strategy right now, but just like, what do you actually trade and how do you trade it with who do you trade with?
I trade with the one and only ICT. And I trade, NQ alone. I don't remember last time I took a trade on anything else, to be honest with you. I look at ES daily, right? Pretty much like I have it side by side with NQ, but with NQ NASDAQ, obviously. But, I don't remember the last time I've taken a trade on anything other than NQ, which, to be honest, in the future, I'm open to change. I'm open to try out, Euro futures, for example, in the future. But currently, at least, it is, purely NQ only, nothing else. And yeah, it's purely ICT based. I pretty much only person I learned from was ICT until pretty late in my journey, where I was kind of figuring out, right? But I had all the common knowledge, I guess, in ICT trade, or like the new gen trading. I like to call it. A lot of people like to call it. I learned everything from ICT.
Yeah, and that's
Everything.
funny because we'll even get people in the Discord. Motherfuckers will start going on about how, and I always say, I'm not an ICT glazer, but I'm also not like a D1 hater.
Yeah.
people will always say how he's a scam and he's a fraud and his strategies don't work. And I'll literally point them to you and go, how could ICT be a fraud if Matthew
Yeah.
has done everything ICT's told him to do? And how would Matthew be profitable and ICT's not? Like that doesn't fucking add up, does it? So
Thomas Quant will tell you it's just statistical luck, bro.
statistic. So I wanted to move on to you don't have a live account. You don't, I mean, you're not one of those people who scale their own live account. Why haven't you scaled live accounts? Why have you used prop firms and, scaled with prop firms instead of using your own live account?
Well, to be honest, right? I mean, prop firms are a really, really good opportunity, but the problem is 99% of traders are brain damaged, like straight up.
Yeah, we see that in the Discord.
Yeah. And like the problem here is like genuinely for 99% of new traders, I genuinely think it would be better for you to go into like $1,000 live account and or whatever, right? 500 and just risk, relatively low. Like obviously the whole, bad thing about lives is that people are like, what if I blow it in a day? But like you shouldn't, you shouldn't blow it in a day. As long as you're risking normally, then it's fine. But besides the point, right? The point I'm trying to make is the fact that, to be honest with you, if I started live, I feel like I would have lost less money than I did if, again, if I traded live instead of I traded futures or prop firms, I mean. But it goes the same way. Like, okay, I am kind of digressing from the point, so I'm gonna get back to the point. But I mean, prop firms are just an amazing opportunity overall. Like, you're telling me, bro, I can pay $50, for a challenge, pass it, and then pay a little bit more, and then I can make 10x that
Okay,
and
okay.
make.
How explain to everyone like the process of going from your first ever account all the way to scaling to now you have five accounts and you kind of like, you'll recycle your accounts, like you'll blow them, you'll get new ones. Like explain the process of scaling that and how it works for everyone who, wants to do that or has heard about it and maybe you know, I know a lot of people think it's a scam. People don't believe prop firms are actually like legitimate because, I mean, to a normal person, it just doesn't sound right how they work. But just explain to everyone how you have scaled with the prop firms.
When you say first account, do you mean like all the way back in
Yeah,
the
all
day?
the way back. Like, explain the process of like everything,
At that point, we're talking like Forex when I traded Forex back in the day, bro.
I mean, yeah,
Or try to talk
start
about the
that,
future.
start there and just go from
I
how
mean,
you've
this is the
scaled
problem,
and
right?
moved over to futures and shit.
Yeah. This is the problem, right? There's a lot of stuff behind it, but I'm just gonna ignore all the kind of details and only talk about like the how the challenges went. Like this is the problem. When I first bought my first challenge, I didn't even take a trade for the first like 6 months of my trading career. I was purely watching ICT 10 hours a day and fucking backtesting pretty much, right? I didn't take a single trade, bro. I bought my first ever funded account like 6 months in. And the funny thing is, I passed it. I passed it. But I always had the problem is to this day, I still haven't or I still haven't failed a challenge. Every single challenge that I've had, I've either passed it or I blew it in one day, which again, I don't consider that, um, well, obviously I'm blowing the account, right? But the thing is, I'm not blowing it normally, right? I've never taken like 5 losses in a row to blow an actual account like you should. I've always just blown it in one singular day. And that is why, again, prop firms, if you're beginning, pretty fucking bad. Because what happened? I paid for a Forex firm. I passed phase one, I passed phase two, I blew it in a day. Then maybe I don't remember exactly how I went about it, how long it took me and whatnot. But then it would be kind of the same cycle. I'd buy it, I'd pass phase one, and then I'd fucking blow it in one day. I'd buy another one, and it kind of just went like that, like every few months or whatnot, right? But again, that was kind of my beginning stages. I pretty
So
much,
this was the beginning on Forex. You're
yeah,
blowing accounts. This is the
yeah,
stage a lot of people are at. They're just blowing
yeah.
accounts. They're ripping through accounts. What would you now say to someone in this stage? What did you do differently now to go to the next stage?
I mean, I stand behind it, and it's kind of sad, maybe a little bit, but top step risk settings is the best thing that has happened in my life, honestly, at this point. Because again, bro, like I just had such a shit psychology, and I know a lot of people, still do. And do I think my psychology is perfect? Fuck no, right? But I'm unable to harm myself anymore. You know what I mean? I'm unable to harm myself. It's like before I was in like a room by myself, right? But the fucking walls are concrete. You know what I mean? And I'm going crazy, right? But now, I'm still in that room, but everything is cushioned because Top Step is saving my ass, right?
Why?
I'm
Why?
not,
Explain what risk settings mean to people who like don't fully understand that.
well, the thing is, right? If you're trading trade of eight, you have risk settings. But guess what? Guess what? If if you have two IQ or more, well, actually maybe less, you'll
Hmm.
figure out that those risk settings you can change them whenever you want. So they're really not fucking doing shit for you, right? And when you have a shit psychology and you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're probably gonna end up changing them, and you'd rather fucking either end the day green or blow your account. But with Top Step, you can lock out your risk settings, right? And alpha futures for now because they're using Top Step platform. But you can lock out your risk settings. You can lock out the max trade limit. You can do all of these type of things that when you hit them, instantly locked out. I'll take one trade, whether it loses, wins, or break evens. I'm locked out. I can't trade anymore. I can't harm myself anymore. Now, I want to, prefer or say, do I need them now? Probably not, right? I've gotten to a point, in my psychology where, I don't really give a fuck at this point. But I still use them because I kind of have this mindset of like it has worked, very, very well. Why change it, bro? Why change it, right? Mates, why change it, bro? Pretty much. That's the only thing I can say.
So one of your issues was basically, like you said, you were just blowing these accounts like in one day. Instead of just taking, a $400 loss, you would just go smash the max drawdown because you were able to change your risk settings before. So I guess the advice is to people, maybe they don't have this psychological issue, but if you're over trading, put a setting on your, first off, I guess, go to Top Step X, put a max risk setting. If you don't know how to do it, figure it out of 300, 400, 500, whatever you want to risk. And, you know, fucking, it'll kick you out the account. You won't have a choice. You will just get kicked out the account and it will stop you from overtrading. So,
I will tell you as well, you'll realize something beautiful, right? If you have these psychology issue, which again I did, bro, and like I promise you, if I had these risk settings, right, it's a bit of a cheap like getaway because yes, at the end of the day, you shouldn't really be doing these type of bad stuff, but it's like why not use the risk settings if you have them available to yourself, right? But I will say this, right? If you have these psychology issues and you get top X, platform X, and you start using them, you'll realize something beautiful, right? When you take a loss, you feel like immediately, I want to make it back, I can't end the day red, I need to make it back, whatever, right? But you realize something. You cannot fucking trade now, right? You're locked out. And then you like walk away from your PC because like again, you can't trade, right? So what the fuck are you doing still here? And you'll realize like damn bro, like life moves on, bro. The world keeps spinning. You took a loss, but like you still have to do other shit in the day. You still have to, I don't know, walk your dog, whatever the fuck you need to do, right? You like the world keeps spinning, bro. You know what I mean? Like in the moment when you kind of like have a crash out and take a loss or whatever, like you can feel immediately, like you can feel like everything is just failing, everything is going to shit. But again, bro, if you just stand up, go outside for like 5 minutes, you'll be like, damn, I'm actually still alive. It's not like I was getting attacked or something. Like you're chilling, bro. So yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a beautiful,
I guess
yeah,
part of that is like not being, how like, like you got incels, right? And I was thinking like, you heard the phrase gym cell, where it's like dudes who like, bro, they like live the gym, like they don't come out the gym, like they can't do anything else. There's kind of like that for trading, like trading cells, where
pretty
like,
much.
bro, they genuinely can't get off the chart. And you see it in the Discord, like motherfuckers just are like glued to the charts. So I guess what you're trying to say is like, bro, have something else to do with your life. Like, don't fucking like
To
go
clarify, I am
outside.
not the one to say, bro. I am not the one to say. You know what I mean? But like, even just scrolling TikTok, bro. Scrolling TikTok
Uh,
is better for you than sitting on the charts for, 10 hours.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that method in a bit because I do want to talk about that method, but we will do that later. So fucking, I we let's stay on track. We're talking about the scaling the prop firms, right? Because a lot of people are in the beginner phase, but a lot of people don't understand the scalability with the prop firms, right? So you've got out
Yeah.
the beginner stage, you've managed to, improve your psychology, you found you can lock your account, you're actually locking your account. It's not so much of well, no, it's how do you scale? Like what would you recommend how to scale from one account up to five? Like how would you recommend someone goes through that process?
Well, it depends on, first of all, how much you have money, first of all, because you could go very quick about it if you already, are pretty well off from before. But I am the kind of believer that, you should preferably be spending as little as possible of your own money towards trading. Everything, should be paid by payouts, right? You don't want to, throw in your own money into it. So, right, obviously, I want to just clarify first that you need, a strategy that, actually works, bro, like a back-tested strategy, common sense, something that actually works, right? That is the most important by far. Psychology, means nothing really without a strategy, because David Goggins is not going to pull up to the charts because he's disciplined and make money. That's not how it works, bro. So you need a strategy and you need good psychology. But let's say, you have that in order. What you do, pretty simple. You buy one account, you pass it. Obviously, we're not, obviously I'm saying it as it's like people are going to be like, bro, it's not that easy. Yes, I know, but I'm just going over, the motions. You buy an account, you pass it. What
And
is
and
your
hang on. How long, give a range, how long do you think someone should spend if it is their first account, they've never passed an account before? How much do you think they should be risking, and how long would you estimate it would take?
I would say this, right? I am going based off the fact that you already know your kind of method, call it, or strategy is profitable and you've already passed an account. But if this is your first ever account, you should not be risking very heavily. And I'd say like roughly 2 weeks to 3 weeks is a pretty reasonable time period in order for you to either blow or pass that account. If it is your first eval ever, if that's your first ever purchase of a prop firm account or you've never passed them, you should by no means, be risking heavily.
Yeah,
So
do
for
you think they should be
yeah,
worried about blowing it? If it's their first account, should they have go in with the mindset of, oh, it's only $50, it's really no big deal if I blow it? Or should they be like, I do not want to blow this shit, like I need to
you
trade
shouldn't.
this properly?
You shouldn't, because it'll just create bad habits. And I remember somebody, I'm not gonna mention names, but if he's watching, he probably knows. But I remember somebody blew his 50K and he was laughing. And I told him, like, bro, like when I blew my first account, I damn near cried, bro. Like
Same.
if you're laughing that you just failed your first account, you are gonna blow, a shit ton more. Because imagine me, who legit pretty much cried. I'm
Evals as
probably
well. Like when I was fucking like borderline crying, bro. I
exactly.
don't know if you saw that video on my channel. It's like I blew my funded account. It was an
Yeah.
eval, and I made a whole video like sulking over it because I fucking blew
Yeah.
that shit.
No, but imagine even those people that do that, you still end up blowing more accounts. If you're laughing at your first eval, bro, you're probably gonna blow a shit ton more. Because to me, at least, it just shows that you don't even care. Like for you, this is like a funny joke almost. You know what I mean?
It's a game.
So I would say, if you buy your first eval, should you expect to probably fail it? Yes. Should you not care that you fail it? Should you, just take bad trades or whatever? Obviously, fucking no. Like, why would you do that, right? Like, the only reason when I trade evals that I kind of trade like a monkey to a point is because I already know, I know what I do. And instead of waiting for the best out of the best possible scenario, I'll just take something that looks, relatively good, and I'm pretty confident I can get, quick win. I will preference though, 90% of the trades I end up taking on an eval, I would never in my life take on an XFA, but that's, the kind of distinguish.
I feel like that's
I,
different
I
for
know
you though, isn't it? Because
exactly.
you already like You're not trying to mess around with an eval, like you're just trying to get to the funded.
Exactly, bro. I have the money from payouts, right? I can fucking blow a lot of evals if I want to.
Mm,
Obviously, I don't want to because I'm still, running through money and nobody likes that. But I'd rather spend $100 more than spend, a week extra trying to pass an eval. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So
So
that is
okay, so kind of finishing off the how you scaled your accounts.
yeah
So you were saying like you want to use the money. Hang
from
on.
payouts.
Running
I mean,
out
again,
of time. Wait, one sec, one sec. I'll
oh
cut this
shit.
bit out. Why is it telling me running out of time?
I think you might know, bro. You could have just recorded OBS. Though. Are you recording Zoom?
Yeah. No, it's cleaner on Zoom. It is better on Zoom. It's fucking oh wait, we got 10 minutes. Okay, hang on. Okay, hang on. So you said you people should only use the money from payouts to reinvest
Yeah.
into more funded. So you should be trying to minimize the amount of money you're spilling into evals and fundeds, and it should be majority of it should just be payout money getting reinvested, right? So when should someone take their first payout and how much of it should they use to start scaling their accounts and how long should they keep reinvesting the money for?
Pretty easy. As fast as possible and 100%. If you again, let's presume, right? This is not your first eval. Let's presume you already, passed an eval, right? You already know you kind of can trade, right? But let's say now you don't have any fundeds, okay? You don't have any fundeds, you only have evals. But you already know, right? You already know. You pass an account, maybe you got a payout, whatever. What you do is you buy an account, one, you pass it, right? Hopefully you activate it, and then you trade it, right? You're gonna trade it with relatively lower risk, and on the eval, you're gonna trade relatively higher risk, right? Again, if you have no fundeds, I would still say maybe, and if you haven't really had a lot of payouts, I would say risk maybe 1,000 per trade, so you have 2 trades of drawdown, something along those lines, right? But let's say you pause the account and now you're trading normally. Say it's a 50K account, which you probably should if it's your first funded. You have 2K drawdown. You can risk anywhere from 300 to 500, in my opinion, is pretty reasonable, right? And, scale it up to 5 winning days and request a payout. Now, if you don't get 5 winning days in a row, which, is pretty common that people don't, you're probably not going to end up, having a 1.5 or 2K or whatever balance. You maybe have like 1,000, something similar. I would advise, depending on your financial situation, I would advise to still take it as fast as possible. But if you look at it this way, right? If you want to buy 2 more accounts, so you can have 3, you need at least $400. You need $100 for the evals and you 300 for the activation. So I will say anything below 400 is like, you can still request it. It's not necessarily bad. But it's less worth it to a point. Like my first payout, because I was with my funded futures, well, not my first payout, but when I was kind of scaling, I was with MFF and, I passed the account. I had 5 winning days and I had 1.2K balance. But the beautiful thing about MFF is you can request the whole thing compared to Top Step where you can only request 50%. It is better in Top Step once you've scaled, but the good thing about MFF is, again, you can take out pretty much all of it. Well, not really because 1.2K is the max. But again, on Top Step, you'd probably have something similar and you could only withdraw 600. Either way, once you get that, in my opinion, everything should go back. And you ask, how long, right? How long should you keep reinvesting? Well, really until, you have, I guess, 5 fundeds and you already have, a pretty good amount of money from payouts, right? So let's say you get your first payout. Let's say it's $500. You reinvest it into 2 funded accounts and then you pretty much repeat and get another payout. But this time, you maybe get $1,000 payout, whatever. Then you reinvest it again and you buy 3 accounts. And now you have 5, XFAs. 2 of them, granted, have very low drawdown, but three of them are brand new. You can start copy trading them with like normal risk. And yeah, you maybe will lose two trades in a row, for example, and the two accounts you have are blown, but you still have those three, and then you try to get a payout on them. And if you get it, then you again reinvest until you have five accounts. Once you have five accounts, that is, I guess, the point to stop unless you want to go and conquer another prop firm. But once you have five accounts with Top Step, you're kind of, finished Top Step at that point. But again, after a few payouts, you either will get moved to live or you have to blow them and repeat the cycle. But if you have to blow your accounts to repeat the cycle, you probably already made so much money from those accounts that, it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
pretty much.
I guess an important point as well is people think that even if they have the money, they think they can just buy five accounts in one go. But I guess, yeah, as you see, you're shaking your head. And I kind of like found a good comparison is you have to work your way up. It's like progressive overload in the gym, right? In the gym, you can't just do 60 kg on fucking Monday and then come in on Tuesday and do fucking 100 kg. Like that shit is not going to work. You have to slowly go 60, 65, 70. And I feel like, would you agree? It's the same with, you know, how much trading capital you are trading with, how much risk you're putting on trades. You can't
Yeah.
be used to just risking 300, 400, and then all of a sudden get used to like in one day, get used to risking 2.5 grand. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree, bro. It's like it really is like the gym, right? I promise you guys, bro. If you traded, 100K account, right? And you're risking, 400 per trade, and then you say, fuck it, let me buy five, right? Now you have four times five, which is 2K. You're risking 2K per trade. It's like going to the gym and being like, all right, bro, I'm repping 60 kg, bro, but fuck it. Let's do 300. Fuck it. You're probably gonna fucking die, bro. Real shit. And the same way in prop firms, your bank account probably is gonna die. So yeah,
Yeah.
I do
Okay,
agree with
so I think we covered basically all the shit we wanted to do with like to do with prop firms. So now people kind of understand how you have scaled your prop firms.
it.
So I guess we'll go back to kind of like I want to compare you as an unprofitable trader versus you, I guess last month and this month making profits now. So how would you react to a loser 6 months ago, 7, 8 months ago, compared to now? And please tell people what you told me if you remember what you would do to yourself when you would take a loser.
Hell, hell no, bro. I mean, shit. Yeah, if we go back 6 months or like 8 months, especially because 6 months, I started to get a little bit locked in. But like if we thought 8 months ago, bro, yeah, it would not be good. It would be really the case of, I either win, bro, or I blow the account. Although it kind of depended because I still to this day, right? And also back in the day, right? If I take a loss that was actually a good trade, I don't really give a fuck, right? The only issue is if I take a loss that was, purely, monkey brain damage trade, yeah, that's gonna tilt me a lot. And back in the day, I'd fucking, blow my account that day probably, or fucking gamble it back, maybe win. And do not good stuff to myself. We would just leave it at that, bro. I'm
Okay, okay. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. And then, like, so now, how are you gonna react to a loser now? You take a loss. I mean, you don't take many fucking losses. How do you react to a loss now compared to them?
I mean, it's again, bro. If I take a normal ass loss, I don't care because I know, like, okay, like this was a good trade, bro. I'm not mad at it. But if I take a crash out loss, because to this day, I still have some crash outs where I get a little bit impatient or whatever. That fucking tilts me. And to be honest with you, I took three losses in the last month, and all three of them were me being impatient. And every single time I did that, I got tilted. But here's the beautiful thing, right? tops up risk settings, telling me, all right, bro, you lost, chill. You can go like, do something else with your life. But obviously I'm not gonna lie, right? If I have like a crash out trade, because again, I still do, and your favorite trading influencer does too. I still get annoyed and whatnot, but the difference is again, bro, I just, stand up, go and like look at the, window and be like, damn, the world keeps spinning, bro. Like it's not the
Mm.
end of the world. Tomorrow is a new day, tomorrow I'm not gonna crash out. And then I just scroll TikTok.
Moving on to a different question. What was something that you thought was important that you realize now is no longer important? Whether strategy, psychology, to do with like discipline or whatever. What did you think was important, which actually isn't important?
That's a tough ass question because I don't even know. Like I'm trying to think of all the things I kind of tried, but I guess it would be like the pretty common answer among people and be like, simplicity is kind of key, which isn't really saying what is not important, it's saying what is important, right? Kind of all the fancy, like again, I am low-key an ICT glazer, right? But I don't use 90% of the things I, thought learn from him, despite the fact that, I believe in the secret algorithm and all that, like IPTA shit and whatever. Like, I do really not think that is fucking important whatsoever, bro. If you stick to the most basic out of the basic, you are gonna make a lot
What
more
are the
money.
basics?
Gaps and highs, bro. Fair value gaps and highs and lows. That's pretty much it. That's
Yep.
legit. I think the only thing I use nowadays. Like I don't even use order blocks for that sake. Which I'm not really against. I still look at sometimes, but the point is again, fair value gaps and highs and lows, man. Like I know a lot of other people, probably makes money, with other things. I know, a very popular TikTok influencer right now, Powell, is using rejection blocks, aka wicks, essentially on the higher time frame. And he makes very good money, bro. But I figured out that if you just stick to less brain rot in trading and instead brain rot on TikTok and on trading, do the bare minimum, you're gonna do good, bro. So again, it's not really saying what's not important. Well, it's kind of saying everything else is not important. It's just saying what is important, right?
What
And this is
about
just the
outside the charts? What would you say? Is there anything outside the charts that you used to think was important? You kind of stopped doing it, and then you actually realized it wasn't necessary at all.
um like in what sense though? Like in what
Because there's
sense?
the whole thing about like if you have a disciplined mind
Yeah.
outside the charts, it's going to be in the charts. How did
Yeah.
you find that for you?
Well, I can't lie. To this day, I probably think it is true. I just think I've never managed to fix myself, right? But like, I used to do all of the like self-improvement habits, bro, and whatnot. And I don't do them now, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'll go gym, trade, walk, and that's about it. And I'm doing better than fucking ever, bro. Um, so I will say like a fucking hour fucking morning routine, getting ready for market open, bro. It's just pure brain rot, legit to just, take a shower, bro, take a walk and hop on with a coffee. That's pretty much what I do in the morning. You know what I mean? Like again, bro. Again, not only strategy wise, but life wise, just stick to the basics, bro. You do not need to, run for an hour, bro, hit the gym, bro, do 30 minutes meditation, read, 20 fucking chapters of a book and whatnot before you hop on the chart, bro. Just, wake
Mm.
up, bro, shower, man, I don't know, drink some water, and go on the charts. And it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
again, sticking to the basic for the most part
the
in
the
any
the thing is with trying to do all that like discipline stuff, which is what I used to advocate a lot in my videos, like trying to like be uncomfortable outside the charts. The problem is if you're preparing for the charts, like you're doing all this stuff like, yeah, this is going to make me better on the charts. I found when I come to the charts, I've done a load
exactly
of cardio beforehand. I've woken up super early. I've not eaten. I've got a fucking like coffee. I've sat down. I've just meditated. I've just like got myself really ready. It's like now I'm more prone to take stupid shit.
pretty
So
much because
there's a
you're
good
expecting to take a
mix.
trade. You're expecting to take a trade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I will say this, like I'm not necessarily following it. like mm, mm, you know, consciously, but just saying that before you're gonna trade, just do stuff you like to do. And after your trading day, then you can, do the more disciplined actions. Like I like going to the gym. So I usually go to the gym, pretty fairly early in the morning, in the day, right? And then I leave something else that I had to do that, requires some more, discipline per se till after I'm done with trading. Because again, it's like if you're all day starving, like this is the kind of way I look at it, right? If you're the whole day starving yourself of the dopamine, and then you hop on the charts, and that's your first, action of the day that gives you dopamine, bro, your brain is gonna be like, let's just fucking gamble this shit, bro. I don't care, bro. You know what I mean? But if you just, feed your brain with whatever the fuck it wants in the morning, and again, I'm not really saying, jerk off 5 times a day before the charts or whatever, but I'm just saying, chill, bro. It's fine, a little bit of TikTok, bro. Maybe, eat like something good, bro. Do something that doesn't make your brain be like, bro, what the fuck is this before the charts? And I promise you, your trading will improve because again, your brain is not gonna seek dopamine in trading. It's gonna be like, ah, bro, bro, I'm telling you, bro, when I trade, sometimes I legit have a movie in the background because it genuinely makes me less prone to take retarded trades because my brain is like, ah, no, I have dopamine here, bro. I don't need to trade. Like, it's fine. Let me just, trade if there's something so I can make money. Chill.
Yeah. And we were talking about it earlier, like you were saying how when you take a loss, like just realize the world still goes round.
Yeah.
And I said we were going to come back to it. I said you always need something else to do after. But what do you do? Like, what does most of your day look like then? Because you're saying all this stuff like, what does your day look like from wake up to sleep? And I just want people to realize like this isn't some like Ashton Hall like 1% top 1% absolutely locked in shit. Just let people know what you do on a day-to-day basis and
I mean,
how that has actually probably benefited you in making $11,000 last month.
actually, my screen time this week is actually pretty good. Hold on. I was gonna say, let me bring out my screen time for people to see. It's been good actually the last couple of weeks. I ain't gonna lie. Wow. I'm actually amazed at myself.
Like run people through a day to day what Matthew Wilk does.
Well, it kind of depends, I ain't gonna lie, because we do not have, a strict routine over here. Um, I try for the most part to wake up at 8 a.m. my time. And then it's kind of, I have a dog, obviously. I kind of wake up, I shower, bro. I do the like basic human needs shit, and then I just walk the dog purely because I kind of have to walk him, and it is good for you. So like I might as well walk in the morning. So I do that. Then after that I make a coffee and hop on the charts, and I decide pretty much within a minute whether I want to trade or not. And if I do want to trade, I'll sit there for an hour maybe. And if I don't want to trade, I'll hop off and probably scroll TikTok a little bit. Um, then around like 11, 12 a.m., usually, if I'm going to the gym that day, I will go at that time. If I'm not doing that, then yeah, it's kind of random what I'll do. I'll watch a movie, I'll scroll TikTok, I'll, play video games, something like that. Recently, I've been playing video games again, which, probably the word if you're playing, for fun, it can be all right. But the way I play, I play a bit too much, but that's besides the point. Then, roughly 2 p.m., I will have to walk my dog again. In my family, bro, we eat dinner pretty early. So I usually do that then. And then 3:30, we have 9:30 market open. I'll hop on. If I haven't traded, I'll trade. If I have traded, I'll just kind of sit there and, look at it for
You might
fun.
be in a call or something like that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. I forgot to say as well, like after gym, if I go gym like 11 p.m., I come home at like 1 p.m. and I check the charts again. If I didn't trade London, I'll check the charts and maybe I'll trade that. If I have traded London, usually I won't even check the charts at that time because it's kind of pointless. I'll only hop on at 9:30 New York time, so 3:30 for me. And then once we're done with the day, it's like 4, 5 p.m. my time. Trading is pretty much fully done for the day. I've spent maybe an hour to 2 hours on the charts, despite checking the charts 3 times. But again, I pretty quickly either hop off or decide that, I'm going to trade it. And again, if I trade it, then I won't trade it the next session, essentially. But yeah, towards 5 p.m., we kind of just yeah, we do whatever. I ain't gonna lie, like there's nothing really, I don't really have tasks I need to do. And as I said, bro, is it good for me? You could argue the facts and say, maybe not, but there is a lot of hours that go into TikTok, into Netflix, into Rust, very
And
recently.
that's the crazy thing about people think when they hit this 10K month, like this is this big glorified thing on TikTok and shit, and Instagram, whatever, social media. You hit your 10K month, you're moving fucking, you're going to Dubai, you're gonna be living life. But in reality, it's not like so much like that.
Uh,
It's well, especially not after like your first 10K month.
yeah, maybe.
Like you still have a job as well,
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think it's important for people to realize like how has like because realistically, from an outsider view, you're probably going to keep making this money, right? So how has that even changed your life?
we're
Has it
already on
changed
track
your
for June.
life? Has it changed your life in the way you expected at this point? Like, tell me about that.
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like a certain aura to myself. You know what I mean? Like, damn, bro. Like, you achieved something. Pretty much. Very, very, very little people. Have done. But to be honest, I still kind of don't care, right? And again, we are on track. We're very much on track in June. It's only 6th of June, and I already requested 4K this month. So we are on track, bro. Right? We are on track to 10 or 20K this month, maybe, hopefully. That would be fucking insane, right? But again, bro, like it kind of hasn't really changed. Like the only thing I just feel, better because I feel like, damn, bro, like again, bro, like you did something, most people don't do. But again, does it change me in any way? Not really, right? Do I feel happier per se? Not really, right? I just feel like, damn, like, it's fine. Like it's like I say, bro, it's like any other goal. Like if you play sports, and you have a match, right? And you practice to the match, and then you play the match and you win, you celebrate, and then tomorrow it's like, all right, bro, like, back to training or whatever. At this point, it's kind of the same thing with training. Like I'm just going through the motion, right? I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do, and then I hop off, and then I go to the next day, and then
It's kind of regular now, and it's like there's nothing to get excited about because it's like, well, I need to execute again, the same again tomorrow. There's nothing like, it's not like this is the finish line. I'm not at the finish line. I have to do the same thing tomorrow and next week and the next month.
yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's important, like, for people to know, like, being profitable in trading is not just going to instantly change your life, nor is it going to make you happier. So, I just wanted, like, people to know your like perspective on that, just so it comes from someone
yeah.
who actually is profitable. But next question, do you think your first payout had a snowball effect on your profitability? And if so, why? If not, why not? And how would you recommend people like get their first payout?
I do not think so because my first ever payout ever in my life was kind of, obtained by gambling to a point, right? I did like half of it was, me doing good. The other half was me not doing good. So it really didn't change anything. It didn't really snowball. It only really snowballed after my psychology just kind of clicked, you know what I mean? And then it just was like, I got it now, I understand it now, and then it actually snowballed. But like your phrase payout is just kind of like, it's kind of the same thing as the 10K month felt for me now, right? It's just like, all right, bro, like, next month, bro, next day, bro, like, bro, it's
Yeah, I can
just
kind of back that because I mean I can literally request my first payout right now. I mean it's only $350, but I'm able to request my first payout, and because I kind of got it in the same way you got your first one, I'm kind
yeah,
of sat here like, all right, cool. Like I still don't know if this is going to be consistent. So
yeah,
yeah, I know like that's another thing. Like people need to, and I can speak like from experience now it's happened to me. Like people need to get out their head that passing a funded is going to change their life because it's probably not. You're probably going to blow it, and people need to get out of their head like getting your first payout is this like magical thing where you're going to feel super fucking
Yeah,
like happy, and that one payout's going to change your life because I didn't even get like it didn't improve my day whatsoever knowing I got that first
yeah,
payout. Like it literally didn't matter to me, and
pretty much. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I just think that's an important point. All right. So, what haven't we gone over? Hmm.
Oh,
Okay, I've got some good ones. So I've got some good ones, and then we'll go to the Discord. Hmm. Where do you want to be in the next year? Like, I guess, like financially wise and like location wise, and what do you want to be doing in the next year?
in the next year, I haven't really thought about it because again, bro, I'm kind of just going day by day and just trading. Like I don't really care. But if I'm, gonna put, to it within the next year, realistically, I think I would be back in Norway. I'd be living in Norway, probably move to like the capital city and live by myself. Hopefully, buy a pretty sick car. Porsche Taycan, that one is tough in my opinion. That one is tough in my opinion. So with it again, within the next 12 months, I would probably be living in Oslo or Trondheim in Norway. Hopefully, driving a Porsche Taycan or a M4 or M3 actually, it's my bad. Mm, and yeah, as to like financially other than that, like surely I hit like a 30K month by then. And yeah, that's about it, really. Like
Okay.
saving isn't well not like doesn't really obviously I'd hope that I'm making enough and have enough to a point where I could live in the capital of Norway, which is pretty expensive to live there in a pretty nice apartment, and drive a 100K dollar vehicle. That is you probably need a little bit of money, but as long as I have enough money to finance that, then I think that's good enough, pretty much.
Mm. Yeah, okay. So, final question from me, and then we'll go to the shit ass questions from the Discord. If
Okay.
you lost everything tomorrow, like all like your brain, you just turn into like a Down syndrome, nothing, you remember nothing, like
Probably have it,
you're
bro.
in it, like I'm not hoping this happens, but let's say you just get in a car accident and then you recover, but you just forgot everything about trading, all your money was spent on like hospital bills. What are you doing? What are you doing now? What would you write on a piece of paper right now for you, your retard self, to go, just copy? What would be the template to start off with again?
Trading wise or life wise, I don't
No,
give a
no, trading wise, trading wise.
All right, bro. I'd write him, 4 checkpoints. That's about it. We'll keep it short and simple, bro. Hourly bias, 15-minute gap, 1 minute displacement, 1 to 1.
You think he's going to understand that?
Well,
He
that's a
hasn't
good
even
point.
traded.
Okay, 5 checkpoints. Watch 2022 ICT mentorship, and then those 4 others. And
Okay.
then I he'd understand. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Right,
about
let's look at some questions we got because we got some questions in the Discord here. Okay. Okay, I'm probably gonna read a really shit one out at some point. I'm just gonna read this one. It's from Inf. So, when you were learning trading, what kind of bad habits did you do that really bottlenecked or slow down your learning process?
I mean, it's pretty simple because there's two. Well, actually, no, there is a lot. And, I guess a simple answer would be, pretty much everything. Whether it be, over trading, I can't lie, over leveraging was a little bit less. It was usually just over trading. But that was most certainly, the bad habit. Because I was gonna say, like, fear of losing and stuff like that. That's not necessarily a habit, kind of, I guess, an emotion or a belief or whatever. So, but that's still things you need to fix, and I haven't fixed all of them. But again, the main two that are detrimental to pretty much everyone is over trading and over leveraging. And again, top step risk settings. Or oh, you have a problem with over leveraging? Just put max loss limit. Wow, it's fixed. You have a problem with over trading? Just put one trade limit a day. Wow, it's fixed, bro, in 1 minute. So yeah,
Yeah.
but again, those are the kind of most detrimental, really bad habit. I can't really think of any other bad habits because again, like fear of something and acting based on that is not
I,
really a
I
habit.
think one thing you said to me, which kind of separates a profitable trader, and not even just like profitable and unprofitable, like unprofitable between like the low end of profitable and the higher ends of profitable.
Yeah,
One thing that separates is how often you make the
yeah,
mistakes.
yeah,
Because I know I might make at the moment, I probably make a mistake every other week. But for
yeah,
me, it used to be every other day.
yeah.
And I was blowing, that's when I was blowing evals, you know? So I guess one important thing is it's like everyone still has
Yeah.
bottlenecks in their
I
trading, but
promise you,
it
bro, your
depends
favorite.
how often you make them. Because now you make them maybe once a month you make like a huge fuck up, would you say?
Yeah, but the thing is, again, it's not even a huge fuck up. I
Yeah,
promise
yeah.
you, every like TikTok influencer, your favorite guru, whatever, they may not seem like it, bro, but I promise you, they have days where they just kind of act like a retard, don't follow the setup perfectly, and take a loss or make money, right? But still, in a bad, way, right? But here's the thing, right? First of all, is we don't do it, every day, every other day, or every week. I do it maybe once a month, every other month, and when I do it, it's controlled, right? Before, back in the day, I'd do this shit like once a week, 2 times a week. And every time I did it, I'd fucking blow an account almost, right? Not every time, but, often.
I guess it's kind of controlling because
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Damage
say
control.
guaranteed to happen, but let's be real for even profitable traders, it's
Yeah.
likely going to happen. Maybe even it just happens once a year, maybe it happens twice a year, but
Yeah.
when it happens, it's about minimizing how badly you screw yourself over and like bottleneck yourself, as in phrased it. So instead of like chopping off your entire fucking arm, you're just chopping off your fucking like
Finger, bro.
fingernail, yeah. Like, so
Pretty
I
much.
guess, yeah. Is there anything else you were saying on that, or
I was just gonna say just damage control and making sure that the damage doesn't even occur very often.
yeah, yeah. So I guess he said at the end, if any, how did you overcome them? I guess top step, risk settings,
That
and
is it.
that kind of just
And
concludes
just a
that.
mindset shift on it, right? It's just a shift because everybody wants to make money in trading. And at the start, your brain thinks, oh, more trades equals more money. But then you figure out, and that doesn't necessarily mean it. And my brain has gotten to a point where it knows that following my setup makes money. It's like, when you eat a chocolate, right? Your brain, socializes that with dopamine and says, yeah, man, let's do that in the future if we want to, feel better, right? And that's the thing in trading, that when you start trading, right, every single bad habit your brain associates with dopamine, right? The expectancy of, oh, maybe I'll make more money, maybe I'll over risk and make 2x, but then you fucking blow it and then you feel like shit. But at this point, my brain has essentially rewired itself. And again, people might ask, how? I don't fucking know. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I have no idea. I just kind of continued doing this, and my brain figured out, wait a second. If I follow the setup, I actually feel better when I like, again, the goal is money, right? The goal is money. And my brain has figured out, wait, if I follow the setup, I make money. So let's, follow the setup. And yeah, it's pretty much just like my brain rewired itself through. I guess it's really hard for you to have this realization until you get your first payout because you've never actually made money. But again, the feeling you get when you see your Wise account and it just hits like 4K in that bitch, it's pretty nice feeling, bro. It's
I guess it kind of conditions you
yeah,
into wanting to keep doing the good things.
yeah,
Like you give a dog a treat when it fucking does something good. You fucking maybe raise your voice or have a stricter tone when it does something bad. I guess it's kind of like not to
yeah,
compare a fucking day trader with a dog, but it kind of is. It's kind of like you're getting rewarded for the right thing, but it's like if you don't do the right thing and you get a payout, then it won't snowball.
Yeah,
But if you do the right thing, I guess it would be more likely to snowball into, oh, I'm doing the right thing and I'm getting this. So it's
pretty much. Yeah.
kind of like that, I'd
Not the
imagine.
best
So,
works.
well, sorry, what were you saying?
No, I just say it's not the best analogy, but it works.
All right, yeah, we'll fucking go with it, right? We'll go with it. How are you able to read price action of indexes? Is that trading experience, or do you have, or or have you had a specific study about them? What the? Do you
I
understand?
don't know,
Do you
I
want
remember the same. It's like how well, I mean, I kind of look at it, I open my eyes and like see it.
how
Um,
important is trading intuition? How important is time on the market?
it is,
How
it is.
likely is it someone can come on in a month and only have like a few weeks of looking at charts and be profitable? Is that an
Well,
important factor? Can
this
it all
is
be
the
taught?
thing. This is the thing, right? If I purely followed my setup all the times, I would have a significantly lower win ratio than what I have. But the problem here is, your setup pretty much means fuck all if you don't have the right narrative or bias, right? And your bias has to be derived from two ways. First, purely technical, okay, what's actually on the chart, right? What's actually on the chart, right? That is, how. And if you ask me how I'm able to read it, when I read it purely ICT based, right? It's pretty simple. I look at every time frame and I look, okay, in what direction are we making, highs or lows? And are we rejecting lows or are we, breaking them? Because if we're breaking them, maybe we'll continue. And if we're rejecting them, maybe we'll, reverse back up. And then I look at, okay, now I have the highs and lows out of place. Okay, let's look at gaps, right? Are we creating bullish gaps and going up and down? Or are we making bearish gaps? Or are we making bullish gaps and, breaking them, right? Because that could mean, we're going to go lower now. So it's pretty much just following, the fair value gaps and the highs and lows of what they're doing. Are they rejecting or are they respecting? That's pretty much a question I ask myself when I'm trading every day, pretty much like probably 100 times a day. Are we rejecting or respecting this? So that's kind of how I read it. But then it's the intuition, right? You zoom out on the higher time frame and you ask yourself, okay, I can see, where we are moving, but now you have to decide, does this still look good? Like, because there's a lot of times where technically it looks like we're gonna go higher, but then it's just like an ugly ass wick to the left that just kind of is pointless and just exists for no reason. And you have to ask yourself, okay, is this a sign that we're maybe rejecting actually? And this, although it looks bullish, we probably won't get a long, or if we get a long, we might get a small long and not all the way to the high, right? So again, it is first you do the technical, and then you have to ask yourself, based on your intuition and experience, is this actually fucking good, right? Compared to all the trades you've taken in the past, which are A plus plus, does this look like a good trade? Yeah,
And
that's
I
pretty.
guess, the little intricate things like that not necessarily can just be taught, would you say? It's kind of just like something you see. It's kind of like pattern recognition, would you say? Like over time,
I
you
have
see it occurring more and more.
I have never been taught this by any. Can you be taught? Maybe, right? You probably can, right? You can get thought experience to a point, but the point with experience is that you have to experience it at the end of the day. So I could tell you why, my experience is telling this and this, but until you experience that, you're not really going to care about it, I guess, per se. But again, it's really just time in the market and just kind of seeing, what happens. Because I promise you, if you look back in time and you compare a week to week to week, you will see very, very similar days. Very similar days. Very, very often. There are days that, pretty much do exactly the same thing on time. And whether you want to say that's random or, that it's the IPTA ICT secret algorithm, I don't give a fuck, right? But you cannot deny me that there are very frequently every month even at least 2 to 3 maybe 4 days that look pretty much exactly the same, right? And then you know it's just kind of figuring that out and learning how those kind of days move and just wait for those days to appear and see what it's giving you and then what your experience and intuition say.
Okay, let's move on to another question.
type shit.
Some of these are kind of shit.
Something like
Yeah, that's shit. If you had to start all over again, okay, we've already done that. We've already done
that.
that. What are some things you learned that made a significant difference that other influencers either didn't mention or hide? Like, have we kind of answered that?
Not necessarily, but to be honest, if I was to answer it, I'm not really sure because it depends what influencer you watch. But I pretty much have seen, everyone say everything because I've seen so many different people. And to this day, but like I'll scroll on TikTok and I'll get all these TikTok fucking traders, and I'll just watch the videos because why the fuck not? And a lot of them say some bullshit. The other guys will say, not bullshit. But I'm really trying to think, and I think a very recent, called it, realization I've had through talking with some of people like that as well is what I said earlier. And is, I promise you, bro, you can make a lot of money and you will still have crash out days, right? It's a myth. Being perfect is a myth, right? Even in other, bad habits, whatever, like people who think, you're going to go on a diet and you're never ever going to have a cheat meal in your life, you are delusional, right? And it's the same thing in trading. If you think that, there's genuinely people out there that every single day are 100% perfect and don't make a mistake, you're probably, a chromosomes too much, bro. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
that is, a thing I would say. Everybody will make a mistake. Everybody will, do something stupid that doesn't align with their setup. Everyone will crash out. It doesn't matter if they're making 50K a month or they're making fucking minus 500 on evals a month. Everybody crashes out, bro. Everybody. Perfection, doesn't exist.
All right, we got a question here from Brian. It's kind of half of this we've already answered, but one part is, does it feel relieving actually like the work paying off? Do you feel any sense of relief?
Mm, a little bit. It's like you get to moments like again, bro, like the Discord and I go through periods of my day where like I feel so motivated and then, I don't feel motivated, but like I'm happy. And then I'm just like emo depressed. And
Yep.
then I'm like happy again. I go through a lot of, those kind of stages of the day,
So
bro.
it's not a constant feeling.
Not really, but it's like if I think about it and be like, damn, bro, like 2 years ago, I wanted to make, 10K and more a month, but like, you know, it wasn't real then, right? And it's kind of because I remember doing all the manifestation bullshit. Well, I said bullshit, but do I believe it's bullshit? Perhaps not, right? But then I look back now and I'm like, damn, bro, I achieved, the main goal that I've had for, the last 2 years, right? I was cleaning my room a couple days ago and I saw like a paper of like saying I had like a what is it called? I don't remember, but it's like when you put like it's a flow chart, right? I had on the top like 10K month, and then I had like arrows down and saying like what I have to do to reach it. And I was like, damn, bro, like I wonder when I fucking made that shit. Cause now I've, actually made it. And it's like, you know, in those moments, you kind of feel like, damn, bro, like, it actually worked out. But like 5 minutes after that feeling, you're like, all right, bro, like, continue. You know what I mean? It's again, like, it's not like, not to be cringe or whatever, but it's like fucking, who I think Kobe said that shit. It's like work not done, bro, or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, like job not
continue, bro.
finished.
You know what I mean? Yeah, job's not finished, bro. It's not like, I can now sit on my chair and just make 10K a month every single month. I need to continue doing, what I was doing this whole time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not done. I have to just continue. So it definitely are moments where, you feel it, but for the most part, it's like, right, it's just like you continue. You have new goals now, you have new aspirations, and when you reach them, you're probably gonna feel the same way. But then you're gonna, wake up the next day and be like, all right, bro, the world keeps going, I
Yeah.
still do stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, like the phrase job's not finished can apply to any level, like whether you're like at the tippity top of the mountain, obviously at the bottom, but like even in a stage like me where if I take a win today, I'll get a payout. I already can take a payout on one of my accounts, but it's like old me would be like thinking this is crazy. I started trading 9 months ago. This moment in time would be fucking nuts for me. But now I'm sat here like, well, the job's not finished. It's like there's still more to be fucking done. So
Yeah.
I guess there's never a constant state of relief. But one question I actually just thought of was who, not necessarily like get mentored by, but who do you use for inspiration? Whether like they're a trader or not a trader, who do you kind of look up to?
Well, I will say I'm low-key dick riding, but um the only reason I'm still trading is low-key Jade Cap FX. Because I remember, when I was starting to trade, I learned from ICT, and as any other person, I was like demotivated. I was like, bro, I don't understand this shit. I don't get it. And then I remember going on Jade Cap FX Twitter, and I see his payout thread, right? And then it's again, bro. It's like these quant ass guys, bro. They'll say like, bro, it's statistic, bro. Look at his payouts, bro. He has, right, back in that time, right, he just requested a 2.5 million payout from Apex, right, the largest payout I think in prop firm history thus far, right. He has over a million, I think like 2 million, and forex payouts as well, all documented from trustworthy firms for the most part, right. But again, bro, when I saw that, I was like, damn, bro, like that is, fucking impressive. And even though, I learned from ICT mainly, the second guy that has had the most impact on my trading is Jade Cap, 100%. 100%. So
Okay.
Jade Cap
Yeah.
is I ain't gonna lie, I'm dick writing, but Jade Cap is the goat of ICT trading. Nobody can say any different. I mean, nobody comes even close to his payouts, at least on social media. So Jade Cap, he the goat. He the
Okay.
goat.
Okay, nice. Let's see, we do have a few more here. What is the best way to find confidence and emotionally detach from everything before hopping on charts? This is from Luke.
Mm, it's not something you can do. Like it's not like a pre-trading ritual, right?
I
Like
think
at
he,
least
he kind of thinks it's like a switch, I'd imagine. He's imagining it as like a on and off switch.
it really is a switch. And as I said earlier, I kind of don't even know how I got it. I think it's just to the point that I started making money and I was like, damn, bro, maybe I should just, follow my rules and something like that.
Hmm.
It's like in any place in your life, right? You need to just think about it constantly, right? You should genuinely go your whole day thinking like, yeah, I follow my rules, bro. I do this and do that, right? It's the same thing. If you don't want to mess up per se, instead of focusing on like, oh, let's not break my rules today, right? Or like if you don't want to mess up in any other aspect, you're not gonna go around and be like, okay, I need to, not to do this today, right? You're gonna be like, all right, let's just do the good instead of focusing on not doing the bad. If you just do that, in my opinion, right, it's gonna be like your mind is gonna be way clearer. You're gonna be happier. You're gonna feel better, and
Okay, we're back. We're recording. Do you remember what you were saying, or should we move on?
having about the whole thing. Like again, instead of focusing on the bad, right? You should not be going around your day being like, bro, like hopefully I don't, gamble today or whatever. You should just focus on, damn, bro, today I'm gonna go on the charts and I'm gonna do what the fuck I'm supposed to do, right? I'll trade if there's my trade. And one thing I will say as well is really that has helped me, bro. Shout out, Cold Trades because he helped me he told me this. The less time you spend on the charts, the less likely you are to do some stupid shit. And that is why I usually don't stay at the charts for any longer than like 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not gonna lie. Because I hop on and I either see something happening or I don't, right? And then if I don't, I'll hop off, I'll legit scroll TikTok and I'll come back in like 10, 15 minutes if I'm trading that session, right? Instead of sitting there for those 15 minutes and watching paint dry, I'll just go do something else. And if I miss the setup, I do get a little bit annoyed, but it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I just lock myself out and, I'm done for the day, I guess. My bad, bro. I know for a fact that if I stay on the charts for those time, I'm more prone to doing bullshit. So I will say one thing is, but it's again, you have to know how your setup looks. Because again, I can look at the chart and I can determine whether or not in the next, half an hour, I will get a trade or not. And if the answer is no, I'm not gonna sit and be like, all right, bro, prove me wrong. I'm just gonna, hope that I'm right, hop off and do something fucking
Yeah.
else. So yeah, spend less time on the charts per like session. Like again, get off your chart and stop looking at it Stop obsessing over it and stop obsessing over the bad that you shouldn't do and start focus on the good you should do.
Okay. On the topic of that, this is a weird question. Which race do you think gets stereotyped the most accurately?
Indians.
Oh, and why?
Wait, trading wise or what?
No, no, just in general.
Stereo. Um, hmm. As you well, can you specify, the stereotypes they're getting?
The Indians?
No, wait, okay. The question is stereotypes accurately, right?
Yeah, which race is getting
They're
stereotyped the
thinking
most
Indian,
accurately?
right? Dirty, stinky, stuff like
Are they
that.
though? Because we were saying we kind of had the thing of the Indians kind of get hated
Oh,
on
no
too
hate, by
bad.
the way, bro. No hate speech, but we're just, looking at facts, bro. What happened to you?
Bro, I just stuck a fucking wire in my computer. That was so retarded. Okay,
Nice.
I'm back.
Well, yeah, no hate speech, bro. This is no hate speech. This is just, two two people, discussing facts.
They know
Uh,
it's not hate speech. I mean, let's be real. They won't be watching this if they're afraid of that. I don't know how many Indians are watching this though. I would
Samarth, bro. Shout out
say
Samarth, bro. Shout out Samarth.
shout out Samath. I would say
Now, bro, I have to say though, like, every race has chill ass jits as well. You know what I mean? Like everybody has chill ass people. But
yeah, yeah.
like if we're talking about, the weird ass, I do low-key have to say, the Africans or whatever you want to, if I can say the blacks, um, they are probably stereotyped, the most correctly usually because again,
Somalians.
yeah, something like that. Because again, bro, like I'm not hating on everyone, because I know, like, bro, my best friend is Somali. I ain't gonna lie. Um,
That means you're
but
not racist because you got a Somali friend.
exactly, bro.
Exactly, bro.
Nah, but real talk, like the point I'm trying to make here, right, is they all have chill as jits. But again, bro, like if you look in the USA, for example. I'm gonna take that as an example, right? The ski mask, fucking gun, skinny pants, bro, sagging and shit like that, bro. When you see that, bro, you know that guy is probably a fucking criminal or probably a convict, right? And
Oh
you
yeah.
correct 90% of the time,
Yeah, I
bro.
mean, yeah.
And it's again, bro. And then people be like, stop, assuming, stereotyping, whatever, bro. But like, you're doing it kind of to yourself, bro. Because I'll see a fucking video on TikTok of some, guy in the USA, that skin color has a little bit of melatonin, with a ski mask, bro, like robbing a store or something. And I'll just comment, well, well, well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, you just come on that shit straight up. All right. We've only got a few more questions. This is more of a positive question. If you had to swap race with, some race for a week, which one are you choosing and why?
Shit,
I'd be
that's like,
black.
no, because like if you're black, you get like superpowers,
Black
but
people fucking imagine going to the gym as a fucking black person. Bro, just one. Do you remember that guy, bro? All he
yeah,
does is push-ups and he's got like the craziest starter build just for push-ups.
nah, I ain't gonna lie though. I probably like black would be
You
because
can
that's like
dunk. Well,
that's
you
like
would
the
want to
close.
dunk.
What?
Dunk.
Oh,
You can dunk.
nah, but bro, the thing is like black people is like the closest to like a superhero you could get because they like get increased stats, like base stats. But I
Mm.
look think like Mexican, bro, like Colombian or whatever. That would be pretty
Mexican.
good, bro. Yeah, bro. Like just smuggle some cocaine real quick and stuff like that, bro. Eat some fucking good ass food, bro. Big thick Latinas, bro. Low key a vibe, bro. You know what I mean? I think I
But
fuck with
just
that.
because you're Mexican, you might be like a chopped ass Mexican, like a
No, but the thing
smelly
is, bro,
one, like a sleepy Mexican.
but here's the point, right? You asked for a week, right? And I think the most fun I would have is if I was Mexican, bro. If for a week, bro. I'd just go crazy, like go party or some shit, bro. I don't even know, right?
I
But if
would
it,
be black, and this is what I'm doing. I'd be a black person in LA, and I would, fucking basketball all day, go to the gym.
it'd be
I mean that
chicken,
that should be lit, bro. I'm not gonna lie, that should be fucking lit.
watermelon, bro.
What? Okay, okay, too far now, too far.
Crazy.
Um, be honest. Have you ever used a racial slur?
No,
Yeah. All
no, I
right.
mean,
Well. I don't know if we've got.
Hey, I will say this: my digital footprint is cooked.
Well, yeah, we know that. Yeah, we know
Yeah.
your digital. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, probably the things I've said here is if like some famous guy said it that requires his social media presence, and I've said what I said thus far, I'd probably be canceled already.
We're
I'm not
underground though. We're underground right
be a
now.
hard
This
underground, and we
podcast
don't.
is probably gonna get 100 views, so it's so underground that it don't even matter. And we're at the end of the video now, so
Most people
not
don't.
many people are listening. Only the real people are listening right now. So
Really? That's
nah, 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 nah.
right.
Yeah, so I don't know. You got any questions? You got any questions to ask? Like the ones we just asked. Any on-topic questions, or should we dip? I mean, we're literally going to join back a call in probably like 2 hours. I'm not gonna lie,
Oh,
but
yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I don't really have anything more to say. I ain't gonna lie. It's like,
yeah, nothing more to say. So whoever's still watching it, where
you're
where can they go contact you? Where can they go contact you?
bro, contact me, bro.
Yeah, you want
Me,
to
bro.
send them
I mean,
anywhere?
I ain't gonna lie. I don't even know my YouTube channel name, bro. If I was to plug
Aye,
that, I don't.
how about this? Join the Discord and you'll find him through my Discord. So you have to come through my stuff before you get to him.
Okay.
Um, you'll find his Discord in the Discord, in the link in the description. Um, yeah, I guess like we could do this again. I mean, obviously not do it like more, do it more like chill style. We could do more long form, like hour and a half long stuff. We could do it like every week if people, if people enjoy it. So I guess to people who are still watching this, if you thought it was decent, fucking comment if you want to see like more of this shit. We could bring like more. We could bring some other people on. Oh shit! I just kicked my cat. We could bring some other people on. I don't know. We'll see how this kind of gets received. If it does well or not.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, fucking, I guess we'll fucking end it there.
type shit.